Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Austin here coming at you with another StarCraft 2 commentary. This particular match is from the GSL Season 1 of 2015, Round of 16, Group A, Match 4, Set 1. If you guys can follow that, it's the fourth particular match within this group and the first sub-game of that. I think they're usually best of 3. I could be mistaken, but the last time I checked the GSL format, that was indeed the case. It will be contested between Terminator, our blue Protoss spawning at the top left of King Sejong Station. Terminator plays for Team Jin, our green wings. And at the bottom right is Dark, our yellow Zerg player. He plays for SK Telecom T1, and he used to play for Slayers. That's what I remember him as, Slayers Dark, but since he has been part of SK Telecom for longer than he was part of Slayers, to be honest with you. But most of his games that I saw way back in the day were when he was on Slayers, so I will throw that out there. This is a PvZ matchup, and it is the first one that does not feature Maru, Life, or Parting. It seems like my little newest batch of games have all featured one of those 3 players. And I really was setting out to look for ZVZ to cast in this particular game because I have not done one yet in 2015. But unfortunately, in the best games / VODs of Hot's Thread, there are absolutely no ZVZs. There are a few so far for 2015, but they are Pro League, and I don't have access to the replays from Pro League. I only have access to some of the WCS, including GSL, SSL, and WCS America replays. I think I also have EU. I couldn't tell you at the moment. But anyhow, there are absolutely no ZVZs that I have the replays for. Some of them, but they are from way back when, from 2014 or 2013. And even then, I was looking at the breakdown. I think it was 2014. They give you a little sort by category on Team Liquid. And only 3 of, I think it was, 60 recommended VODs were actually, were actually ZVZs. But anyway, I am going to follow these Zerglings, and I am going to stop rambling. I pressed Control-Shift-R, by the way. That's why I kept popping up. I meant to press Control-Shift-F. And so Dark has indeed gotten some early Zerglings. I know I was telling you about how few ZVZs there are, but hopefully I will happen upon one in short time. If anything, I'll try to seek one out. ZVZs aren't usually the most exciting, but I may try to find one of my own accord, see which one is a good game, just because I like the matchup. It's very standard and very mechanical at times, but it is fun to watch. Definitely not the most exciting mirror matchup, but still a good one all the same. So anyway, getting into our action here. Dark has a little complement of 6 Zerglings that will be walled off by Terminator, who scouted it with that probe that was felled by the Swarm, and now they will try to attack the Cyber Core. A nice little choke there for the Zealot. Decent micro out of Dark, but he realizes reasonably I probably won't be able to break through here. That does somewhat lock Terminator in. He has that 1 unit wide hole, but I'm not sure how he's going to get something like Immortals or Colossi. Well, Colossi have the Cliff Walk, but Immortals, maybe even Stalkers might not be able to fit through there. I will have to see later on in the game. But anyway, guys, I picked this PvZ matchup just because I have not casted either of these players. I've heard of their names. They have been kind of in the background for a while. They had been, at least. Terminator was always one of those Pro League players standing for Dark that were good in team leagues, but never really broke out as individual players. On Slayers, nobody really necessarily knew Dark. They knew MMA. They knew a few of the other players that I can't quite remember off the top of my head because Slayers disbanded some time ago. But unfortunately, well, Slayers, who else? So they had Puzzle, I think, was on Slayers at one point. Just a few players like that, and Dark was kind of in the background. But same thing for Terminator. I think he's always been a Kespa player, but he was never necessarily a standout. So it should be interesting to give these 2 players a little bit more coverage as opposed to the All-Stars I had been covering, who kind of crowd the best VODs of Hot's Thread. And we'll have to see how it pans out, guys. If you ever have suggestions for a particular matchup, as I will stop talking very shortly to get back into the game, if you ever have suggestions for a particular matchup you'd like to see, or a certain player that you're a fan of that you want me to cast, by all means, just submit a comment or directly message this account, and I will promptly cast that game. Same thing for amateur replays. I'm always open to casting your amateur replays if you'd like to have a game highlighted that you found was pretty cool. Sometimes amateur games have endings that are just as cool as pro games. Maybe the micro and macro aren't the same level, but the strategies or the outcomes could be just as cool. There is a Stargate coming out from Terminator and a couple of Terminator. Not sure why I pronounced that so awfully, and a couple of gates, along with this expansion having been completed from Dark. So it seems fairly standard so far. Harvester count is dead even, but we should see Dark getting a second expand third base fairly soon, and from there we would have to evaluate what he's going to do. He's got this little Link Force that he's kept around, and I think the Oracle play out of Terminator, which he is now doing, is a very bright counter. Lair Tech is being researched at a fairly early point in the game. I say fairly a lot. I think that's my new coming down. If any of you guys watch my absolute earliest videos on YouTube, I think they're on the AUS77SC channel. It might not even be on YouTube. This is this first game ever that I have saved on my computer. It's the first ever cast I did, where I said coming down about when referring to new researches or units at least 40 times in the game. I just could not stop saying it, and I've realized I've said fairly an awful lot since I started casting again. So I'll try to avoid that. Anyhow, the Oracle play is smart and should deal some degree of damage, but we'll have to see what the counter out of Dark is. He did get that rare tech. He is getting it as we speak. He's getting missile attacks level 1, which should be handy. And I'm guessing some sort of a Roachling Hydra play. That's fairly standard. See what I mean? I just said it now, and I probably said it a lot more times. That is standard of Zerg players in the PvZ matchup when they are trying to macro up. 6 kills out of that Oracle in total, and apparently 4 recently, but I'm not sure what else he killed. Maybe a couple of lings, or maybe my UI is just a little bit slow. There is now that third base being built from Dark, and I think he responded decently well to that aggression. He responded decently well. I can't even speak today, but we'll have to see how he retaliates, because he's getting the Glial Reconstruction or Reconstitution for his Roaches. That is that handy speed upgrade. He's getting a couple of Spore Crawlers to be able to deal with the Protoss Air. There is a Void Ray charging up on a Overlord, and that will smartly supply block Dark. So that's a unusually handy Overlord snipe. Usually the Zerg player has a few in reserve because they're aware that their scouting Overlords can be sniped at any moment. But at this point in time, Dark did not, and he does pay for it just for a few seconds, but those few seconds in Pro SC2 can mean an entire game. Trust me, I've seen it before. I have a friend in High Masters. He was trying to hotkey a location, and on my laptop he was playing on, the function and control keys are inversed. He plays Terran, and he accidentally minimized the window, and he lost his army and lost the game in like 10 seconds. He's in Grandmaster now, actually. His username's Legend. I've covered a bunch of his games on my channels. But it just goes to show that a couple of seconds in StarCraft 2 of supply block could actually mean the game when it's at this high of a level. The higher the skill level, the smaller the difference required, and the smaller the advantage required to win the game. We have a full commitment to Stargate from Terminator. He is going all out with this. He's getting 2 more Stargates. He's getting Void Rays. And Dark is getting Infestors, which I absolutely love. I love Destiny specifically and how he used to play with Infestors, especially when using Neuroparasite. That was hilarious, and I would love to see Dark use some sort of Neuroparasite play, or just general Infestor usage. They used to be so powerful in Wings of Liberty when they had that full fungal growth where it wasn't really a projectile, it was just something you spread on enemies, and you could chain it. It was absolutely deadly, even as a Protoss. I mean, it was best against Terran, obviously, but I had it used against me several times, and it was brutal to play against. This Oracle here getting a couple more kills. He only has 25 health, but his shields are full. And now Dark is getting a 4th. So this is a very solid macro game. We are seeing Swarm Hosts out of Dark, which is an excellent strategy to use here against the Protoss. Keep him bottled up, force him to lose gas over time as he desperately tries to expand to further bases. There is an Overseer here being attacked by the Void Ray, and another supply block out of Dark. He does not realize what he's getting into when he sends those Overlords and Overseers. That's just simply not advisable. The Oracle does not get another kill, but manages to poke on the 3rd base of Dark, which is exactly the kind of purpose you want your Oracle serving. Early in the game, get a few kills before your opponent has anti-air, and then later on, just disrupt them. The better player will always be able to attack their opponent from multiple fronts. They'll use harassment units like the Oracle to throw them off, while using units like the Void Ray to deal the actual damage they're looking to deal. The supplies are absolutely identical, 118 out of 142. Quickly, Dark and Terminator changed that, but it was just funny to see. That's so rare, especially when you're dealing with Zerg. The Locusts promptly die, and will soon be regenerated. The Swarm Host fairly well placed here. There we go again, fairly. There's a whole force of Queens from Dark, which are just poking away our Void Ray force from Terminator, and there's no harassment. There is actually some harassment here that of course I'm not noticing. The Queen is attacking the Void Ray, which is trying to target down the spawning pool. I'm not sure if that was just deliberate or if it was just Terminator not being able to control the unit and charge it up on a Queen. The Swarm Hosts are an excellent ground unit to actually propel Protoss forward, but they do not do what Infestors do against Void Rays, which is fungal growth, as I was talking about. It's absolutely overpowered. It has since been nerfed, obviously, but it is still reasonably strong, if done properly. Except now I like it because it requires a good amount of micro ability and targeting out of their Zerg, as opposed to just being reasonably close to your opponent and chaining it. Because if you could chain it against the Terran, you could essentially win the game off of a one single nice position. Just being in the right place at the right time, and one battle could win you the game. And I think StarCraft is punishing. If you make a mistake, you can lose right off the bat. But I didn't like that it was that punishing. As a Protoss, you lose. I mean, as Protoss in general, you lose your army, you lose the game for the most part. But this was taking it to a whole nother level. We have a Twilight Council researching from Terminator. It is warping in as we speak, and a Spire from Dark along with Hive Tech. So he invested in only a handful of swarm hosts, but they will give him ground control that may not seem particularly important at the moment, but in fact is way more crucial than I could possibly emphasize. Because as much as Terminator controls the skies, he is limited in his ability to expand beyond 4 bases. He does have 4 in total, not 4 mining. I think his main is still mining, but that will run out in short time. I mean, we are at the 15-minute mark, so I'm a little bit disillusioned, because normally when I'm getting a 4th expand, it's because my natural is practically mined out. But don't mind me, I'm not exactly the best player. We have a lot of fungal growths coming out on the Void Rays. They will be recalled again, but one of them does die. There's Lings and Roaches streaming in from Dark, and it looks like he's going to cripple Terminator's 4th base, which is absolutely essential when considering how the game is going to look in 5 to 10 minutes, because that will devastate him in a way that he may not be able to recover from. Terminator quickly recovering, but there's that ground control I was talking about. Void Rays only move so quickly. Yes, you can recall them. Yes, you can use that superior mobility to your advantage, but it has its limits. Dark is able to stream in there with absolutely no opposition, but I like the follow-ups out of Terminator. He's getting a Dark Shrine. He is getting a Fleet Beacon, and that should make for a very nice transition. But he, as much as he is reestablishing the 4th Nexus as soon as it went down, I'm not even sure he's going to be able to defend it this second time. It looks like these Void Rays should be able to surgically tear apart the Lings, but they will still check for a 5th, check for an alternate 4th, and they'll probably find over here the 5th base of Terminator. And if they do, that could have disastrous results for a Blue Protoss player, who is now getting ship weapons, air weapons, okay, I was a little confused, air weapons level 2 and ground weapons level 2, which should be handy for his Zealot Force and for DTs as well. You want as many weapons upgrades as you can get. There's another poke at the 3rd base of Dark from Terminator. A lot of fungal growths on his forces, and they are this time being chained. He will probably get the recall again, and will indeed. I don't believe they're able to recall if they have fungal on them. I could be mistaken, but that's what it's looked like to me. Now, the Void Rays are getting poked back there by the Queens. I like his Void Ray count at a whopping 20. And I like how he's splitting them up as well. And Dark is not responding as well to this as he should be able to, considering his composition. But now that he's run by this base and spotted it, he should be able to make short work of it. Now he's getting 8 mutas, which are an absolutely excellent follow-up. He has a total of 25, including those 8. I did not, in fact, notice that. So many things going on in these Korean games, I have trouble following it, but that is wonderful from Dark. Exactly how we should be countering it. A full-on mothership being built now from Terminator. The harassment from Dark Zerglings is in fact successful. Those units there being marked by the Oracle. Forget the actual spell name, of course. Don't forget this is only about my 6th cast that's coming back. It is Envision. Okay, that is reasonable enough. Now, the Void Rays are getting picked off by those superior Mutalisks that are able to attack much quicker than them and are much more mobile, but quickly a few Phoenixes come out, and more often than not, a few Phoenixes is all that a Protoss player needs to deal with a Zerg. As soon as he gets those Anti-Impulse Crystals, he should be able to handle them. He has a couple more Phoenixes coming out, and should be able to remove the Muta threat, but lest we forget, there are still those Swarm Hosts on the ground from Dark, and I'm not sure Terminator actually has a robotics facility. He lost that 5th base, but the 4th is still alive and well. And I'm going to check now if we have any sort of a robotics technology. No, so he doesn't have observers. He can use Envision out of the Oracle, which gives Stargate players an ability to detect units that otherwise would restrict them from actually getting this Stargate in the first place. But now these mutas are coming in and wreaking complete havoc on the Protoss mining. 28 workers killed in total, and that number growing even higher still. The Phoenix Force is absolutely massive from Terminator and should, in fact, aptly be able to terminate the mutas. But Dark is very, very happy with this investment. 1 second here. We'll have to see whether or not he's able to deal with his mothership. I think he'll be able to. He's getting 22 Hydralisks and Zerg missile weapons level 3. So I like his chances in this game. He's been very bright in his tech choices to counter Terminator's compositions, but he is not in the clear quite yet. There are a couple of DTs that will snipe this hatchery, and without it, that leaves Dark in a pretty dire state. He doesn't have enough bases, and the Protoss Air Force is moving out, splitting up the Zerg and causing dissent among the ranks. I don't know why these DTs did not finish off the hatchery. I'm very confused. I thought they died and an Overseer had come over, but that is in fact not the case. Very confused right now as to why. Oh, there must have been an Overseer near there, but even still, they should have been able to finish it off. Here are a ton of Phoenixes streaming, and there is the Spore Crawler, but there are so many Phoenixes, they'll probably even be able to kill the Queen, which they do, just constantly using that Graviton Beam and harassing the drones. Not as many kills as Dark was able to get, as our yellow Zerg moves out with all his Queens in tow. He's going to snipe this base, so it's a lot of severing of limbs here going on. The later bases are constantly being destroyed to a point where the players are still even because neither has a particular base advantage, but they are still trading back and forth. I like Dark's chances, as I've been saying. He has a nicer army. I like his composition better, but if well microed out of Terminator, it could very well be a GG. We'll have to see how it pans out. The Hydra's now streaming into the base. Terminator is going to need a fabulous engage. He's getting Psionic Storm. He did have that Templar Archive some time ago, and now Terminator is preparing to move out. He has carriers, of course. I'm surprised he doesn't have Tempest. I guess there are no massive units he really wants to deal with, and he does not necessarily need the range. I would argue for fighting feedbacks going on the Queens. So I was going to say for fighting Swarm Hosts, but there are now fungal growths on the Void Rays, but nice feedbacks there on the Queens. It does kill a few of them, and the carriers will continue to harass. Their interceptors are not invisible, but they will be shortly due to the mothership, which is getting poked down. I don't think Dark is quite comfortable attacking this. He was able to snipe that 4th base location, though, and I don't really like how he engaged that. I'm surprised how I completely froze up commentating. I was thinking Swarm Hosts. I was thinking, okay, he needs to fight the Swarm Host with Tempest. Not necessarily, though. The Swarm Host threat is not as significant as it seemed to be. Bad positioning here from the Void Rays. I do not like it at all. They are getting completely paper shredded here by the Hydras. That's not a good trade there for Terminator. His supplies are superior, and I think his army supply reflects this. But I still don't think that's an ideal engage there. The Phoenix is moving in, Graviton beaming like they've never Graviton beamed before. They're so happy that they are Graviton beaming. I only thought of that after I said the word in the first place. But anyhow, Corruptors, 14 in total, are moving out from the Zerg base, and I think there already were a few being built before the initial 14. There are 8 on the map, 15 more being produced, so this could mean a brutal transition for Dark. It could mean I love both players' tech choices. They give them a lot of flexibility, a lot of general mobility across the map, and in terms of military strength. And they mean for a cool game. It's been good so far. A lot of bases being destroyed. Neither player able to establish those 4th, 5th, or 6th bases for an extended period of time. The mining is fairly abysmal. Okay, I said it. Forgive me. It's been quite a while. The mining, the number of harvesters is standard, but I just mean the actual consistency of mining at stable, established bases is subpar. I think one player needs to really try to focus on getting static defenses established, which is what Terminator attempted to do, but beyond a certain point, you also need your army there when you're facing a Zerg of the magnitude of SK Telecom T1's Dark. This Corruptor force is magnificent, and it should make for a fun air engage with the Protoss player who has more and more carriers every minute. There are the Flyer attacks level 2 researching there for our Zerg. I'm just making sure that is the right color. I know red is usually the 3rd, green is the 1st, and purple is the 2nd, but one never truly knows with SC2 how dynamic it is. What color is the right upgrade number? Here is the mothership now moving out. We'll have to see how it makes use of its 2 abilities along with its cloaking field. Is that what they call it? They probably call it something else. Cloaking field. Nice and straightforward. I would assume in SC2 it would be like I don't know, concealing matrix or something. They really like to go with those advanced names for the Protoss. But there is a little bit of a harassing force moving in, consisting of Hydras attempting to use the high ground to their advantage, an Overseer following them to try to deal with these DTs, which is intelligent because Terminator does not really have any concrete ways of dealing with Overseers unless he has his primary Air Force there to defend. Here's a Void Ray getting completely mauled by the Corruptors, which are now out trying to support the Hydras as they move into the main to cripple the production of Terminator. An engage is inevitable here, but the carrier fleet is magnificent. They are being corrupted, but still managing to deal a decent amount of damage to the ground forces of Dark. Those Stargates are getting depowered, and this 4th base location here being harassed to death by the Hydras, who are sniping off the probes without relent. This is a free carrier here for Dark unless it's well microed by Terminator. A few roaches and a Hydra in the main, but not really doing much with their presence. The Overseer has been killed, and that should open the door for DTs to come in. The Archons are now on the ground for Terminator, which should help him in dealing with the Corruptor force. I just don't like how Dark has been engaging, and he's been so indecisive. He really hasn't tried his hand at directly fighting the Protoss. I understand it's pretty close to being a death ball, but still, Dark, it's like he's walked in with phenomenal military forces, and as we see the Hydras die here, and he's just come out with shambles, and I don't quite understand how that's been the case. The Archons are trying to move in here to help fend off the Swarm Host threat, but I'm just not sure how Dark keeps losing that many units, unless there was a Cataclysmic engage I missed, which I sure hope was not the case. I just think he has not been microing that well and has been losing a lot of units for that reason. 9 Infestors coming out, 4 just finished, and 5 more on the way. 6 Corruptors. He's getting good units. Both players are getting good compositions, and there's that very rare air weapons level 3 that we see so infrequently in this game. Well, level 3 in general from Protoss, especially one of the specific ones, is rare. There is a little bit of a trade-off here. Decent Storm on some of the Corruptors. But this is a wonderfully entrenched position here for Dark. I don't really like Terminators engaging from the front, so he does try to come in from the side here. There are a lot of Corruptors. How many in total? We have 18, and up against 11 carriers, 2 Phoenixes, 4 Void Rays, and even a single Oracle somewhere on the map, probably tucked up away in that corner. Some more engages. Nice Storm on some of the Infestors, which are so squishy. A lot of them are getting completely torn apart. The Interceptors all getting fungal growth, a couple more of them with that, but a nice series of fungals are going to be interrupted with a recall. A decent trade there between our two players, but I honestly have no idea who's going to take this game. I am going to say right now Terminator. He's had superior engages. He's just seemed more confident in his ability to micro and establish later bases. I could not tell you with confidence that it will be Terminator, but I just like his chances. I could very well be wrong. Zerg players often have that effect on me in terms of surprising me with their results. There's that lone carrier up there. I'm just interested to see where the Oracle is. I honestly have no idea, and I'm not going to spend this game searching for it. Maybe it died. No, it did not. I will not waste interesting engages to try to look for an Oracle. It is just a fleeting, abstract concept that represents a lot of the vanity of humanity in the 21st century. Everybody seems to be looking for that figurative Oracle and never truly finding it. There it is, though. So, my little philosophical tirade comes to a prompt end. Nice line of Spore Crawlers here are trying to destroy the Protoss forces, and just as soon as it appeared, so too does the Oracle die. Carriers moving in, completely slicing the Spore Crawlers in half like a nice piece of meat that I will soon have for dinner. The Locusts are being poked at, but they don't really matter, particularly in the eyes of the Protoss forces. They will die in short time regardless. The Swarm Hosts seemingly, I'm not sure if these are the same ones as earlier. I would assume so, but they have been alive for so long by now. I just don't quite know how Dark is going to tackle this Protoss army. I mean, he can max out at 200, but they are just getting more and more upgraded with each passing second. They are completely tearing apart his Locusts, and they are now getting armor level 2. Okay, I didn't really recognize that exact color. I know what 1 is like, but that could very well have been 3. Forgive me, this is all being ironed out over time as I continue to cast. I'm not sure how Dark is going to be able to assail this or assault it. I don't even know if assail is a word. I know assailant is. There is a little bit of a poke that was ongoing, but a few DTs are built from Terminator to deal with it. Another nice recall from our blue Protoss on generic green wings, as a Void Ray will be sacrificed to the Corruptors. Another one following it, and these two DT High Templars will seemingly follow suit, but they get some very nice storms off along with their 3 brethren before them to damage the Zerg army, but Terminator's forces are getting picked apart. He was divided there. Most of the Void Rays were able to escape with a recall, but not all of them. So the Corruptors are going to pick apart the remains, and there are but carriers left for Terminator. His supplies are still high. He's managed to maintain that. He has 9 carriers, and a few Void Rays, but I'm just not quite sure who is going to close it out. We'll have to see in short moments, ladies and gentlemen. Economically, the map is coming close to being mined out. There are a few mining bases out of Dark, less out of Terminator. He doesn't have that base on the right side. So I would say, yeah, I've seen the tab just seconds ago. I'll show you here again. The income is similar, but I can't quite say concretely who has the advantage here. The army supplies are always fluctuating. They are in the favor of Dark, but can Terminator get that right engage he's been looking for a while now? Locusts acting as cannon fodder, but if I was Terminator, I would try to go in now since the Locusts have died. The wonderful range there on the Interceptors is being put to use as they try to attack Spore Crawlers. Another base trying to be established here. The Wings will just pose a thorn in the side of that attempt. And here are DTs tearing apart the mineral lines of Dark. This could be huge for our Protoss player. He could be kicking the Hornet's Nest, as I say almost every game. If he's able to withstand the counterattack of Dark, he could win the game off the back of it. And now the Protoss player continuing to wreak havoc. There is no Overseer in the general vicinity. Is there even one on the map? Yes. I believe it may just have been morphed. But anyhow, the Dark Templar will try to be put to use. Excellent storm there from Terminator. Now is the time. If I am the blue Protoss, I would try to give him all I have, because waiting longer just does not bode well for him. But the mothership falls, so recalling is not an option unless he wishes to pull back. Void Rays are tearing apart the Zerg base on the right, and it looks like Dark is just too divided to be able to handle this. Can they pick it off? It looks like the Locusts are coming over. The Corruptors are just too slow. They're trying to fight the main force now as Terminator attempts to regroup, but will his army be able to withstand the Corruptors' damage? Nice storm there, but I'm not sure the carriers are going to make it. It's going to be down to the wire. Good feedbacks on the Queens. Terminator needs every single unit he can get, and I think his fleet will stand strong. A bunch of transfuses coming from the Queens, and this is extremely close. Terminator loses his army, he loses the game. Same thing goes for Dark, though, as he's lost a lot of bases, and the last of the Corruptors falls, and so too do Dark's chances at winning this game. Excellently done there by Terminator, and I think that will soon close this out. He does indeed. GG, and Terminator takes the victory in Group A, Match 4, Set 1 of the GSL Round of 16. I enjoyed casting it. I felt that it was a high caliber play, very interesting to watch. It was just, I would say, confidence in Micro out of Dark. I mean, I don't blame him. I would be just as divided. I would obviously lose this game right away. I'm not a Korean pro player, but hypothetically, just with the way I view the game, if I were in his shoes, I would have the same issues, because Terminator is constantly revising his tech choices. He's constantly coming at him with new ways to disrupt him, and I think he was able to close it out there just at the end, because Dark slipped up a bit, wasn't able to deal with the DTs, wasn't able to deal with the Void Rays. There were too many fronts. So well played out of both players, and GG to Terminator. He did play nicely. He did attack with all that he had and more still, and I think he deserved that victory, but it could have realistically gone to either player. That final battle was really what decided the game. If Dark won it, he could have mopped up just as easily as Terminator did. But that is all I have to say on that today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed my cast, and I will see you next time. Os77 out.